looking for, and then we are going to be asking you for putting in your LinkedIn profile. So if you haven't done that yet, please go ahead and do that. So to get us started, I just wanted to go over a couple things this morning. First of all, Sheila is running kind of behind the scenes today, and she's going to walk us through some tech stuff. And so Sheila, you want to take it for just a moment? You are on mute, friend.
Thank you. Sorry. How's that? Is that good?
Yep.
Okay. So we have the chat feature is our main way to interact here since we can't be face-to-face yet. I think Jessica already talked about that. And this screen here is kind of for our friends on Facebook. If they're over there and they want to come over to Zoom, there's the meeting ID. And if anyone's having trouble, you won't be able to hear me, but there is a phone number you can text. And if you have any questions, go ahead and drop it in the chat. We've got a few people watching. As far as the display, you can kind of control how the videos look. If people choose to show their face, which I hope they do, we'd like to say good morning to everyone in person. You can control how those videos are displayed. There's a little bar on top of the videos that you can choose one or many of us to look at. Make sure you make some connections today. We always say at least 5. Try to connect with at least 5 people today, not just with a click, but maybe a conversation of some sort. And we are not able to copy paste from the chat. So I love that everyone knows they're getting the full URL. It turns blue in the chat when it's a full URL because people can click on it. So that's the way to go. So keep that up, because if it doesn't turn blue, then people aren't going to be able to click on it. So you just, from your browser, you want to go to the page you're looking for, so your profile, and then click up in the browser address, copy it from there, and then paste it right into chat. And we should be good to go. Thanks.
All right, great. Okay, so this morning we have Wade Thomas, Ready, Reset, Go, Finding the Right Career. And then we're going to hear from Brittany Rideout at Assurion, and then I will take the last 10 minutes or so to just close out, talk about some resources and different opportunities you have right now. So great job in the chat. You guys are doing a great job. Good morning. We have people calling in from all over the place, and do your best, again, like Sheila said, to network, to message with people. Allie, good morning. From Gilbert. So we have Sun City, Arizona here. So part of this is I love that we're able to meet from all over the place in one online format. And so it's great where I know many of us prefer the face-to-face meetings, but we're able to now meet with so many different people online. So Cave Creek, Sheila from Cave Creek, good morning. A lot of you in there this morning. Just again, if you're just logging in, drop in your where you're calling in from, your LinkedIn profile. Make sure the link is clickable so that all of us can connect with each other on LinkedIn. And then what type of job you're looking for. We're going to have Brittany is on, Wade is on, many of our volunteers are on, and if you want to engage with them in chat, they would love that. So just also as a side note, if anything weird happens with the Zoom call, if anything inappropriate comes up in our chat box, we have some ways to cover that. But if not, we shut down the meeting and we bring it back as a webinar where no one can comment and talk. So just beware that if something does happen and the call ends, come right back in and we will have it loaded up to finish out the call. So good morning, good morning, good morning. I don't know about all you, but I know many of us are. If you're in the East Valley and you're in Chandler School District, school started today. So we're a little off kilter because, of course, my daughter goes to log in at 8:30 and she can't. So great start to the new year as she's in her sweatpants and t-shirt. I'm like, you want her first day back to school pick? And she's like, I'll pass, Mom. So I know it's a crazy time, but I hope that you set aside the next hour and a half to just really be engaged and focused on you as you get to hear this great talk. So can you please help me welcome Wade Thomas? He is the founder and CEO of Aim to Win, a consultancy and coaching firm focused on bringing out the best in high-performing individuals, teams, and organizations. Wade has over 20 years of experience in leadership and talent management areas, most recently as the Chief HR Officer for Meritage Homes Corporation. A graduate of Stetson University, he also has an MBA from Indiana University and further executive education from the University of Michigan. Having sat on both sides of the hiring table for many years and having helped numerous leaders and professionals make the most of their career paths, Wade knows what it takes to find and land the career that is right for you. You can connect with Wade on LinkedIn and on Instagram, and we're going to drop his contact information in the chat as well. So please help me welcome Wade Thomas. This is a virtual clap, everyone. Wade Thomas, welcome.
Thank you, Jessica. I'm really glad to have everybody here on such a challenging day for a lot of you with school starting. My kids go back in a couple weeks, but they go back for real. I was saying that earlier. So I still have a little bit of time to deal with it. So glad to have everybody on here. And, I'm just really excited because I think the topic today, can be really life-changing for a few of you. And so we're going to dive into that. So if I can get the slide to change, there we go. So there's a lot of uncertainty, as you know, in today's world. With the impact of the pandemic and the economic and policy response to it, many find themselves at a career crossroads. And while this can be a very scary time, it's full of uncertainty and frustration, it can also be a really great opportunity to hit reset on a career that maybe wasn't fulfilling, or maybe left you little room for advancement, left you little room to achieve those personal goals. So this presentation was put together to show you the formula for finding your career sweet spot, preparing yourself to achieve it, and finally, how to brand yourself and go and get that next opportunity. So welcome, everybody. Like Jessica said, I am going to be watching the chat, and I encourage you to do it as well, because I'm going to be dropping questions from time to time just to make sure you're not sleeping, especially those that don't have their camera on. I'm watching. So today's situation, we find ourselves in really a historically different situation. The unemployment rate as of July was 11.1%. But at the same time, 4.8 million jobs were added in the United States. So you have really this big dichotomy of things going on. And what this tells me is there's still opportunities out there. There's really a silver lining. This is a chance for people to reset, to relook at their careers, and maybe in the process, change their professional and personal lives with it. And so even though it's a scary time, it's also this opportunity of excitement. And so we're going to talk about how to do that. So I want to kind of start with, what does reset mean? So reset means something different for everybody. It's, for some people, it means a total redo, a total rebuild, throw out the old career, move on to something new. For somebody else, it might be tweaking. It might be making some changes, maybe looking at things a little bit differently. The point here is not to tell you the answer to that. The point today is to give you the tools to figure out what that looks like for you, and then how to go about doing it. And so that's what we're going to dive into. And I'm going to start by going through a model on how we do this. And this is really how you find your career sweet spot. You start with aspirations, passions. And the thing about aspirations and passions, and we've all heard this probably in our lives, go follow your passions, right? But you can't do that in and of itself. You also have to find, you have to look at yourself, what are your talents? And then you have to understand the market. And your career sweet spot is where the three of these come together. So again, going back to that passions example, follow your passions only works if A, you're able to do it, because having the talent is very important, and B, the market's willing to pay you for it. And another thing we look at is, what are we able to do? What are our strengths? Let's go find something in that space. Well, that only works if it also happens to be something you like. A lot of times we're really good at something that we don't like. And so you don't want to go down that path. Also, it's really only good if the market's willing to pay you for it. You know, manufacturers of buggy whips, you know, and expertise like that, you know, aren't in as high demand as they once were. So you have to make sure that your skill set really fits the marketplace. And by the same token, you know, a lot of times we look at just the market. So what is available? What jobs are out there? I'll take whatever I can get. And what this does is it leads to, you know, maybe you're doing something you just don't like to do. And so the important thing in all this is to really find that sweet spot where these three circles intersect. So what I'm going to do for the rest of this talk is go through each of these and go through a process that you can use to identify, you know, what your passions are, your aspirations, understand your talent, and understand the marketplace. Your homework coming out of this will be to go and do it. So starting off with that, the aspirations piece. There's two questions here: who you are and what you want. So when you start thinking about who you are, you really need to do some deep introspection. Really look at yourself and start with your core values. So think about core values as guide rails. Core values are what you find most important. These are kind of your no matter what's. So no matter what, I have to have these core values in place. I can't work for some place that doesn't honor those core values. But when you go through this process of the core values, you really start to nail down who you are and who you are not. And these values are just really at the core of your being. And it's important to understand these values must be yours. So they can't be what you think society wants. They can't be maybe what your parents told you. They can't be what your friends told you. Core values are very, very personal. They are for you. And you need to kind of get, you know, the rest of those inputs out there and really focus on what those values are. So how do you do this? Well, what you're going to do is you're just going to take some time and think about this. You're going to identify your core values. You know, ideally, you're probably looking at around 5, you know, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. But as you go through this process, the idea is to think through all the things that it might be. Brainstorm with yourself. Come up with a list of core values. Some examples are things like success, achievement, dignity, faith, family, making money, risk-taking, or risk aversion for that matter, status, adventure. Those are kind of things that you might find in core values, and the list goes on. So you're going to come up with that list, and you may find that you have more than 5. But the important thing then is to narrow it down. Because when you narrow it down, what it is you're focusing on what's really important for you. And that is really the key to figuring out where you want to be, where you want to go. So, so once you've got those core values down, and you understand what they are, step back and describe what they look like. So a lot of times we might just list out things like dignity or faith, and they're just words. Really take a moment and just visualize, what does dignity mean for you if that's one of your values? What does that look like? Because what happens is this is going to be part of who you are. You're going to need to articulate this not only to yourself, but when you're in an interview situation or any other interaction with a company, you want to have a clear vision as to who you are and be able to explain it. So really take the time and describe what these values look like. The second piece of the values question, and this is important too, is do the opposite. Come up with what you cannot tolerate. What are the things that you just absolutely hate? And as I've worked with people throughout my career, whether it be the corporate world or whether it be, you know, as a coach, you know, I've seen a lot of situations where there's a lot of great things about the job. People go into the job and, you know, it looks great, but there's just like 1 or 2 things in there that are on their do not tolerate list, and they don't last long. You know, in the do not tolerate list, it can be things that are enormous, like ethics. You know, I don't want to go work for an unethical company, but it can also be small things. You know, I had a client one time who, you know, took what they thought was, you know, the perfect job. It really fit in a lot of ways, but in the middle of the office, they had ping pong tables, and they just couldn't stand the sound of the ping pong balls going back and forth all day long. And so think about those things and make sure that, you know, those are in your mind, because until you're straight in your mind, you you really can't evaluate opportunities, and nor can you really articulate it when you're meeting with people. So spend some time with this. The second part of the who you are equation is understanding your passions. And your passions are basically things that you're interested in, things that you spend time doing. They could be professional passions. We're thinking in terms of profession here, so that's our tendency, but it can also be personal passions. There's a lot of times that you can take those things you're passionate about on the personal side of things and apply them to the professional world. So look at both sides. And one good way to look at what is really your passion is, not just see what you spend your time on, but what kind of things are you willing to stay up all night and read about? Or what kind of things you just love to talk about? Really kind of look at those, ask those questions, and you'll nail down your passions. So I want to take a quick moment now, and this is the first wake check. Drop in a chat box, what some of your passions are. Let's see what we have. Okay, learning, good one. Success, supporting local and small businesses. Creativity, writing, cross-functional engagement, helping people. Excellent. Appreciation, working with people. Growth, my family, sewing, teaching, sewing, dancing, traveling to places, sightseeing. Excellent, love it. Protecting people, great one. Integrity, sharing exciting concepts and news with people. Achieving things. Lots of great things going on here. A lot of great passions and a lot of difference, right? Employee engagement, employees feeling, I'm not sure what that says. Value inside the workplace, I think. Helping others learn. Yeah, value, there we go. Thank you, Chelsea. Just great stuff, and look at all the variety here. And, these are the kind of things that you need to kind of keep in mind when you're defining who you are, and then the kind of job that you want to look for. And because a lot of times we have all these passions and they have nothing to do with our work life, and yet how much time do we spend there? It's a lot. So good stuff. So the next part of this equation is looking at what you want. So the first thing to start with is really nailing down and defining your vision. Think through what your career will look like and start with the next 3 to 5 years. What kind of title do you want? What do you want to accomplish? What people or markets will you serve? Do you want a large team working for you? Are there certain technologies or processes that you want to be involved with? All those kind of things. You want to try to get as complete of a view of this as you can. Be very specific. And like I said earlier with the values, paint a picture in your mind. Throughout this whole process that we're talking about today, imagery is so important. Words are one thing, but really having those images in your head, those images in your mind are what's going to really make this real and really make the impact. So the next thing I want you to do when you're looking at vision, so you start with the next 3 to 5 years, but the next thing is I want you to fast forward to the end of your career. So you're sitting there, you're on a rocking chair or whatever you choose to be for your retirement, and you're looking back. You might be talking to your biographer. Think about what you're going to talk to them about. What did you accomplish? Why did you do what you did? What obstacles did you have to overcome? And how did you do it? What is your legacy? Write this out. Take some time, do this vision work, and then write it out like a narrative, like you're writing the story of your life today. So put yourself in the future, write the story of your life. Then what this will do for you is it really then becomes a compass point. This becomes really the true north for what you want to do in your career. So use this. It's a huge part of vision. The second part of figuring what you want is getting kind of down into the nitty-gritty a little bit more. So looking at your career desires, what are some of the more specific job-related criteria? So vision is really that big picture. Passions were that, kind of those, a little bit broader kind of things. This is where you start the process of getting really narrow. So things like, I want to move around. I don't want to sit behind a desk. I want to work with people to solve problems or better themselves. I want to be on a cutting edge of innovation. I don't want ping pong tables. You know, all those kind of things. This is your opportunity to get real specific and understand, you know, what are the specific career desires. And when you put these together, when you figure out who you are and what you want, you really start getting that aspiration circle down. You really start getting that direction on where you're heading, which is so important, you know, to, you know, getting the kind of career that you want. So the next step is the market. So you really need to spend some time and learn the market. And like we talked about, you know, you really got to find those intersections, you know, between aspirations and market. So the first step in doing this is be curious. You know, dive in. This is not a curiosity killed the cat situation. You know, you want to find out as much as you can. So you have your aspirations, you know kind of where you want to head. Start doing the research. Dive in and dive in deep. Try to develop some passion around this. The second thing is keep an open mind. So the biggest caution when you're doing your research is don't conduct your research as if you're trying to prove what you already know. You know, conduct the research with an open mind, because what happens is you want to find out what's really going on in that career path that you think you want, that you identified through the aspirations. But if you're doing it just to validate that, then you're really not going to get an objective look. So this is really kind of a test to see if that path is really something that's viable for you, something that's really going to excite you. The third piece is using the tools. So there's a lot of tools out there that you can do, a lot of tools you can use, you know, to do your research. You know, I think many of you have already used a few of these or maybe all of these, but just kind of recapping, you know, the first one that always comes to mind is the internet. You know, it's easy. It's what I do when I start the research. You can find a ton of things, but I will warn you, be careful, because there's a lot of things on the internet that could lead you astray. There's a lot of things that aren't accurate. There's a lot of things that are from a very narrow perspective, and, you know, be very careful and make sure you're vetting out what you're reading on the internet, and you're getting a lot of different angles. You know, what I do when I do internet research for anything is, you know, I look for multiple sources. I like to see trends and patterns, not one-off kind of things. And so, you know, make sure you're doing that and you're being cautious there. So when and how do we dive in to see what the job market's needs? I'm getting to that. You know, that's part of this this conversation here. So what's a streamlined process to find this without becoming overwhelmed? So we'll talk about that here in a minute too. So give me a moment on both of those. So the second tool, and this is, you know, I would put this right up there with the internet, and I might use this first, and this really gets at the streamlining piece of it. And this also gets at, you know, where and how do we dive in to see what the job market needs are, and that is use your network. So talk to people. You know, it's easy to get on the internet, but it's much better if you can talk to people that are actually in the space. So you might know people there, and you might not. And if you don't, find out how you can get to know them. Look at your network, see who they're connected with, and ask these questions. So ask the questions, you know, what is the job market need in this space? What kind of criteria do I need? We're going to talk about this a little bit more later. Where should I look? You know, there's a lot of information out there. What are your recommendations for sources? And again, you know, the internet's a big source of overwhelm. So that's why some of these other sources are very important to build in. You know, another thing is look at books. There used to be a time when books was like the main thing to look at. And, you know, it's a very powerful tool to really dive in and look at books from different perspectives. So, you know, there's a lot of people that write about their experiences in industries. There's a lot of people that write about the industry itself. So get out there and read books, and also trade publications. You know, every industry, just about every functional area, whatever it is, there's almost always a trade publication. And a lot of times there's free content. So look at those, because they're going to write those from a different angle. They're going to, Phoenix Business Journal is a great resource, by the way. So they're going to write these trade publications from the insider's angle. So when you're looking at the internet, you're going to see a lot of things that come from outside. So the trade publications really dive in and see what are the real issues going on there. And, you know, what kind of things are they looking at? What kind of people are in the industry? You can really get to know them by reading their work. And then finally, the last one I really encourage you to do, and this is really a lot easier now, and that is attend some conferences. Again, just like trade publications, almost every industry group, functional group, whatever it is, has a conference. And guess what? You don't have to get an airplane anymore. Now almost all of them, not all, but almost all of them are online. And you can usually get in for a pretty nominal fee. Especially now, a lot of them have dropped their prices or taken them away entirely. So when you're in a conference, that's a great opportunity because again, you're seeing a wide range of people that are actually doing the work. Not only that, but it's an opportunity to grow your network. So I encourage you to use all those tools. The final piece about the market is get uncomfortable. I want you, when you're doing this research, to get out of your comfort zone. So this means if you're an introvert, it means, don't just look on the internet, get out there and talk to people, get uncomfortable. If you're an extrovert, go on the internet, because you're probably already talking to people. I'm not really worried about that, but stretch yourself. Make sure you're using all of these because you want to get as many perspectives as you can, to really understand where you're headed. Okay. So once you've done your market research, it's really kind of time to narrow down those aspirations, those things that you came up with earlier. And there's a few questions in this filter to ask yourself. First one is it possible? There are some things that just flat out aren't possible. One of my aspirations could be, and probably is, I really enjoy this. I'd love to be, a center in the NBA. But you know what? That's probably not going to happen for me. It's just not possible. You can't, I'm not live, so you can't see how tall I am, but I'm not 7'2". And, it just isn't possible. And there are some things that, we may have a passion for that, just isn't possible. The second piece to look at is it realistic in the marketplace? So, there's a couple schools of thought on this. It's, I don't want to rain on anybody's parade and say that there's things out there that, the market's not going to pay for, because you can always make your own market. That possibility does exist. And there's a lot of speakers and writers that will talk about that. But the question is it realistic? Is you want to make sure that you're going after areas that the market's willing to hire you for. One of the things, I really enjoy and, I have a passion about is I love chocolate. And, chocolate tasting would just be a great career field for me. I would drop all this tomorrow probably. But, the reality is nobody's gonna pay me for that. Not in Phoenix. And, maybe if I'm in Hershey, that's different, but not in Phoenix. So that's a big filter, a big test for you really to look at is it realistic? The next one is, are you willing? So what this is getting at is, are you willing to do what it takes, to go after those aspirations? You may have, a passion around travel. And so, a career field that has a lot of travel, flight attendant, pilot, consultant, whatever that is might look very appealing. But if one of your values is family time, you might not be willing to do that. So you've got to really ask this very hard question, because it happens a lot. A lot of times those jobs we just really want, those career fields we really want, we find out through our research that, wow, I've got to do that to get there. I really don't want to get there. And so make sure you're asking that question. And finally, once you get through all these filters, what you should end up with is a short list. And it should be rather short at this point of areas that you really want to look at and explore. Because now you've looked at the combination of your aspirations and the marketplace. So you should have a really good short list. So the next thing you're going to do is look at your talents. So I want you to picture a warehouse. So and this is another one of those kind of visualization sort of things. So picture a warehouse, this big, really huge empty warehouse. And then I want you to go through your mind and fill that warehouse with all of your talents. Everything, whether you think it's relevant or not. This is brainstorming. Don't leave anything out. Look at your professional talents, look at your personal talents, look at things you've done at work, look at things you might have done at church, volunteer work, all those kind of things, and get this massive list of talents. It should be big. I think everybody here is very talented. So then what you want to do is then you want to go in and sort the warehouse. So you're going to go through that big list you have and sort it out. And what you want to do is find out what are those talents that separate you. A good starting point for this is really figure out what your top 5 talents are. Because when you find that out, it's usually going to be your biggest strengths. I refer to these as the top shelf talents, because these are the things that you are just really good at, have great expertise, and it really will bring a lot of value to a company. The third step here is I want to take you a step further. So now you've got the warehouse, you've sorted it out, you have these top shelf talents. I want you to think about which of these talents can you grow? Which of these talents can you become truly elite? How can you be the best of the best? And how can you grow in that relatively quickly? What are going to be the easiest things that you can do that? Or maybe you already have it. And it could be things like functional talents, like your profession, like accounting or legal, whatever it might be. It could be market. Maybe, you're the best person in a certain industry in China. You really maybe understand that market. Maybe it's industry. You're just really exceptional in the automotive industry. Maybe it's something technical. Maybe your elite talent is you are, the best coder in a particular language. Could be your network. We often don't think about that. The size of your network and the quality of your network can be a really big talent even. Some of the most valuable people to companies are people that just have elite levels of networks. It could be demographic. Maybe millennials better than anybody else. And if you do, call me because I want to learn some more. So think about that. Think about what talents can you grow to be elite. And so I want to take another break, another moment here, and I want to see some thoughts on what you think you can grow into being the best of the best. Networking, good one. How you doing, Gene? Expanding scope or scale of projects, that's a good one. Technology skills. Writing a resume, consistent practice, leading teams. Good, good. We have some good elite talents coming through here. Knowledge specific to your business. Yes, that's a big one. Critical thinking. Being the best of public speaking. Interesting one. Planning, organizing, bringing order to financial processes, leading meetings. So we see a lot of people really coming out with these things that they can really become elite. Writing presentations. I could have used you a few days ago. Philanthropy communication. Persistence and consistency. Good, good stuff. Teaching. Communication, empathy. A really good one these days. All right. Okay, good. Good input, everybody. So the next step is kind of take those talents, and now you're going to match it to the market. So if you remember the circles, and we talked about the overlaps, now here is where you kind of take your talents and your strengths, and you match it to the marketplace. And so the first thing you're going to do here is take a look at those talents you listed. All the talents in your warehouse for this one. And then you're going to look at the market needs. So during your market research, you've gone out, you've learned what is needed, what competencies, what capabilities are needed in the jobs that are in that marketplace. On the other end, you've got the warehouse. So match those up and see how they fit. And so you're going to come up with one of two things every time. One is going to be you have a great fit for the needs of the market, and then you need to figure out, okay, how am I going to leverage that? How can I take my talent and apply it to that marketplace? The second thing you're going to find out is here's something the market needs and I don't have it. So what's my plan to develop a talent? And you need to come up with something to fill that gap. How am I going to learn that and quickly? Because this isn't something where we have 10 years to learn it. But how can I learn that and how can I fill that gap so I become marketable, to the marketplace? And finally, the fourth thing is, how am I going to I meet those needs, but how can I go above and beyond and just really be exceptional and be that person they just have to have in that marketplace? And this is often where your top shelf talents and your elite talents come in, because this is kind of where you can make a difference in the marketplace. And you need to identify that. So you took the step of identifying your elite talents. Now you've got to marry that up with the marketplace. And when you do that, when you find you have an elite talent that fits in a marketplace that you want to be in, that's gold. That's the really special part. Okay, so now you've done all the matching and we've gotten a circle, we've found a sweet spot. The next step is, how do you take that sweet spot and make it happen? So what you're going to do is you're going to revisit your brand. So most of us have probably figured out, that we have a brand. We've developed this over time. Maybe we put a lot of diligence into it, maybe not, but we have it. But once you've done the work to look at your aspirations, to look at your talents, and to look at the marketplace, and you've narrowed down this career path, this career direction that you want, you've got to revisit your brand because your brand needs to match that. So to revisit your brand, you want to start with value proposition. And in order to do the value proposition, I like to use a construct that basically says, I help A to get B, where A is the organization, company, whatever it is, and B is the result. So it could be, I help businesses grow their people by teaching. Things like that. And this is where you want to get really specific. You want to really dive in and you really want to tie it to your target market because it needs to be something the market wants. So during your market research, you should really understand the target market enough that you can write your value proposition that really fits that. And you may have multiple value propositions, by the way, because there'll be different organizations that are going to be looking for different things within your marketplace. So I don't want to oversimplify because your value proposition is very important. But make sure it's tied to the target market. If you haven't got enough research, don't be bashful about going out there and doing more. Testing your value proposition by meeting with people in the industry, throwing it around with them and see how they react. It's really good to kind of test that out. The second step, after you have your value proposition, is to differentiate. So, there's going to be a wide range of value propositions. Everybody's going to have one, right? But one thing that I promise you is somebody else will have yours. It's inevitable with the numbers of people that are in the marketplace. Somebody else is going to have yours. So you got to figure out what makes you special. So you need to come up with something that makes you, what is unique about you? What do you bring to the table that nobody else does? And a good way to look at this is you have your value proposition. I help A to get B. And then you add in, unlike other people, I do this. So thank you, Linda. Value proposition and messaging sounds like good info to include in the cover letters. Yep, and we're gonna talk about that too, because all that kind of boils in together. The messaging piece, this is kind of where it starts boiling down. This is where the rubber hits the road. So far, everything you've done is kind of in your head. When you get to messaging, that's when you're really getting it out there. When you're really starting to let people know what you're all about, really getting your brand in the minds of people. And so you really want to start with summarizing the problem that you solve for and whom you solve it for. You want to talk about how you solve the problem. So there's your value proposition, those two statements. A is who you solve it for, B is how you solve it. The more specific you can get here, the better. This is another one of those areas that you just really want to get dialed in, specific. You want to make sure your uniqueness is there. You want to build that into your message as well. And then what you want to do is you want to prove it. So it's one thing to say all this stuff, but when you're crafting your message, it's very important to prove it. And so you prove it by a lot of things. It could be stories from your past that you can use in an interview. It can be awards. It can be references. It can be articles that you've written. There's a lot of different things that you can go into proof, but it really needs to be tangible. And we always talk about putting numbers and metrics in resumes. That's part of it. That's part of the proof, right? And then the other thing that I want you to look at with messaging is to come up with some hero stories. And these are stories from your past where you just really above and beyond and just killed it. You just really brought a great result to somebody. And you all have them. You need to think back through your past and just write these down. get them down on paper, and really just commit them into your being, so that when you're out there, you're talking to people, and you're communicating, you've got these hero stories ready to go, because that's what makes a difference when you're out there trying to land that job that you want to get into. So develop all that. So the idea, back to Linda's point, so what do you do with this messaging once you come up with it? Well, this is something that should go throughout everything that you do in your career search. So this should be in your resume, your cover letter, your LinkedIn profile, your elevator pitches, if we ever ride in elevators again, your, anything you put out there. If you write articles, it should be flowing through that. It should be in the interview. This messaging, by having these things in your head, this is really what keeps you on point when you're meeting with people, when you're having career discussions. Yeah, it can be hard, Christopher, but think back, he really struggles with the hero stories, remembering them. You have them. So go back, and what I like to do is just walk through each job and just think about, what did I do there? And what did I accomplish? Who were the people I knew? And, those kind of things will often jog your memory, but they're there. And another thing you can do is go through your resume. The resume, if you put results in there, oftentimes those results came from a hero story. And so, use those kind of things to really, prompt your memory. And this is important because it is a great pre-interview strategy. It's exactly where I was going with that. This is what differentiates you. You can go through and you can answer the questions, and, you can study online what questions they're going to ask and all that kind of stuff. But when you can get into one of your hero stories and really excite the company and allow the hiring manager to envision themselves benefiting from your work, that's so powerful. The last thing on here that I want to talk about is developing your image. And really at the heart of the image is it's really how people see you. Your image is what they walk away with after they leave contact with you. And it's a big part of the outside world's perception of you. You need to be very intentional here. You need to think about, it's more than just dressing right and things like that, but you need to think about, what do I want people to take away from their encounter with me? List that out now. What is your goal? Do you want them to see you as loyal, tough, compassionate, knowledgeable, smart, energetic, brilliant? List all these things out, because before you craft your image, you really want to, know where you're headed. You can't solve the problem. You can't solve for your image until you know the image that you want to convey. So really pay attention to that. The second thing here is really do pay attention to dress, how you're dressing. You want your dress to be consistent with, first of all, the image you want to convey, but secondly, with, the market you're trying to get into. So if you're trying to get an executive job in, and something that's not a tech company, you're probably going to want to wear a suit and tie. If you're trying to get into a tech company, or a programming job, it might not be that. The important thing is to understand what people are dressing like in that market and matching it. So extremely important. I want to digress a little bit from my normal program here, based on the times, and talk about video. 6 months ago, we were all going into offices and having interviews, but that's not always the case now. Now we have video, and video is a whole different dynamic. It's not just the same as being your in-person self on camera, because video has a lot of other intricacies you got to pay attention to. First of all, how you dress. That doesn't change. Dress the same way on the video camera that you're going to dress if you're going into the office. And by the way, I recommend practicing that. Even if you're working now and you're doing a lot of remote work, don't fall in a trap of, wearing pajamas or not wearing any pants. Dress like you're going into the office. Because dress is equally as important on video as it is in person. Second is pay attention to your background. Yeah, don't wear a black shirt if you have a black chair, exactly. If you want to look on the internet, there's actually different colors that work better on video, so you may want to pay attention there. So anyway, got me off track there a little bit. So the background's so important. Pay attention to what is behind you. Don't go in an interview with a cluttered kitchen table at your back. Just really, don't have your laundry laying out there. I've seen all kinds of things. I've been doing video conferencing for a long time now, and it's amazing what you can see. So pay attention to your background. Pay attention to your posture, especially important in video. You want, a lot of what you do in your posture is going to go to your confidence level because they have no other way to read that. So yeah, no bathroom selfies. Please don't do that. And not today either, or else, you're going to find you at the end of my gallery list here. But put your shoulders forward, sit up straight, talk confidently. The next thing is look at the camera. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people struggle with this, and honestly, it's hard for me too. I know that for a lot of my talk today, I have not been looking at a camera. And it's just hard because the temptation is to look at the person you're talking to in a one-on-one meeting. But the chances are that the person, the image on your screen is not where your camera is, right? So a trick I do there to help with that particular aspect is I will move their camera or their image in a one-on-one meeting to right below my camera at the top of my screen. And so when I'm looking at them, I'm pretty close to the camera. So pay attention to that. And finally, to the extent possible, minimize disruptions. We've all had it and we've all seen it. You get the kids running behind you, you get the dog going nuts, you got repairmen coming in, you've got all kinds of stuff going on because, we're at home. And, a lot of times we get away with it. I get away with it. I just say hashtag working at home. But when you're in an interview situation, you don't want to do that. You want to really try to minimize those disruptions. So try to go somewhere private. If you can get a closed door, that's even great. One thing I do is I have a sign that I put up before I go into a video meeting that says, "I'm in a meeting, leave me alone." And that generally keeps the kids out, although not always. But the important thing here also is if it does happen, if you get the disruption, apologize, handle it, and move on. Do not let it throw you off. Don't get wrapped around the axle of this bad thing happened because you know what? We've all seen it. The hiring manager has seen it over and over again. It's not going to be a devastation to your interview. So don't let it throw you off your game. Just apologize, handle the situation, get right back on track. All right, and you'd think at this point in a presentation, I'd figure out how to change the slides. So the last step, in this process is to really kind of engage your team. So this is networking. So think of your networking as that team of people that's going to really help you go out and land that career of your dreams. And, there's this old adage of it's who you know, right? And, that has never been more true than it is today. It's really become increasingly difficult to get into career fields and jobs through the traditional application process. Almost impossible. It's really, really difficult. The other thing I want to say on networking before I dive into this model is I want you to think about quality over quantity. So a lot of times, there's a focus on building our network, just getting so many people into our network, adding and adding and adding, especially extroverts, because that's what they love to do. And ideally here, though, you're looking at quality. And so I'll maintain that I would trade in, if I'm in a job search mode, I'd trade in 3,000 contacts that I never talked to and maybe don't even know for 10 that really know me and love me and are willing to help me out. It's that quality. So rather than spend your time on trying to add as many networking connections as you can, going to networking events, things like that, take a lot of that time and focus it on strengthening the relationships you already have. So the process for doing that is you start with a current network analysis. Yeah, everybody on this webinar is quality, but the point here is the quality of the relationship, not the person. But good point there, Alan. So the first thing to do is really sit down, identify your network if you haven't done this already. Look at LinkedIn, of course, but think through who else do you know? Who have you worked with? Who do you work with if you happen to be employed? Who do you go to church with? What are the parents on your kids' sports teams? The other parents at school, whatever it is that you do, think through that and really just come up with this master list. And then go through and evaluate that list. You're going to want to go through and rate each of those. On a scale of A to C, A is somebody that's just going to be a great value. They can really help you with their career. They may be in the field that you want to get into. Those are your A's. Your B's are people that, maybe they are. They might be great contacts for you too, or maybe they're great connectors. So don't lose sight of the people that can just connect you to a lot of other people, because they're valuable too. And then the C connections are people that, they're great to know, everybody's quality people, but they're not going to help you in your career. And the reason that you're going to do that is the next one, which is developing that network. So you want to spend the time on building the relationships. But if you have a network of 2,000 people, you're really going to have a hard time if you're trying to build relationships with all 2,000 of them. So the idea here is start with your A's, then go to your B's, and really focus in on them and build those relationships. Figure out what they're all about. Ask how you can help them. Really kind of create this two-way relationship. And don't be shy about asking for the help either. Because one thing that is true psychologically is people like to help people. It is a psychological boost to us that, when we help somebody else. So don't be shy about asking for the help, but be prepared to do it the other way too. It's always best to ask how you can help first before going to them. So once you've assessed the relationship, you kind of go through, you say, how is this? Have I not talked to this person for, a year, or do we have some kind of falling out that we got to clear up? Go through each of these and assess them, see where you're at, and then work to revive and enhance those relationships. So take the steps and fill in those gaps if there's some things you got to work on with that, or, get the help you need if you have that great relationship. But the key here is to really build those relationships and develop them and just do this on an ongoing basis. The next point I want to make on here is to make it real. What I mean by that is we all have a lot of LinkedIn connections. I don't even know how many I have. But of those LinkedIn connections, how many people have I had coffee with in the last year? It's probably 2% or less. Or how many people have I talked to on the phone? So what you want to do is you want to identify those LinkedIn contacts, especially ones that are A's and B's, and make them real. Bring them out of the computer world and bring them into your real life. Invite them to have a phone conversation with you, a Zoom call, whatever it might be, but convert those into like just real touch point kind of connections. And finally, the last thing is to grow your network. And so this is not the, go out to as many networking events as you can find. I want you to be strategic here. I want you to step into the future again. Do the time travel. Go out there and look for this job that I'm going to want, down the road. And down the road could be 6 months from now, but it could be 3 to 5 years from now. Think about that, and then think about who do you need to know to go out and land that job? Who is that going to be? And then start building that now. So it might be somebody you already know, great. It might be somebody that you're pretty close to and you can easily know. Or it might be somebody that's 5 connections away. The key is, and remember, we're all like 6 degrees separated, right? That's actually not true. The number is actually between 2 and 3, believe it or not. Go through your network and find out who are the people that can connect you to the network of your future. Do that detective work. Find it out and really identify that future network now. The key thing that I want to leave you with on this networking is the key to it is never stop networking. You want to always be enhancing that network. You want to be adding to it. You want to be growing the future network, but especially you want to be building relationships. Now, even when you're working, and I'm, this was me. I worked for a long time, with one company, and I didn't do networking. I didn't go out there and meet people, and people I did meet, I really didn't follow up with. I didn't go to events, I didn't have the coffees and all that kind of stuff. And then I decided to start my own business. And guess what? Now I had to play a lot of catch up. And, one of the biggest regrets I have is just not keeping up with that network on a regular, ongoing basis. So don't let that be you. So overall, this is really a great chance, for you to really grab your career by the horns. You want to take the time and find your sweet spot between the aspirations, the market, and your talent. You want to revisit your brand, make it work for that sweet spot career that you want. And you want to engage and expand your network. This is really a pivotal time in your career, now more than ever. So take that opportunity and go and do it. So I want to leave you with, if you want more, I'm just now launching a new program. It basically takes a lot of the stuff we talked about today, gets into the nitty-gritty about how you do it. You know, it's an 8-week online course. It's recorded audio with workbooks that really take what you learn and make it real. And, you know, because really the bottom line is what you do with all this knowledge. I'm offering special Career Connectors pricing. It's either 2 payments of $149 a month, or if you pay it all at once, you get a bit of a discount for $267. So thanks, Sherry, for posting the link. Also, I'm including special bonuses in there, things about executive presence and some of the questions you can do for research. There's a lot in there. So I encourage you, take a look at it. It's on my website. It's on a link that Sherry just posted. And, you know, I'd love to welcome you into the course. So with that, you know, I'll open up to any other questions that might be lingering.
Thanks, Wade. I was looking through the chat to see if I saw any additional questions. And I don't think so, not right now. But if you have any questions for Wade, go ahead and drop them in there. He's going to be around for the next half hour as we finish.
Actually, I apologize, Jessica. I'm not gonna be able to.
You have to drop off to another meeting. Okay.
Yeah,
so
I have a group I'm helping. Yeah.
So if you have a question for Wade, drop it in right now so he can address it.
Also, Jessica, if I can say, you know, connect with me on LinkedIn. And you can ask me the questions there as well. You know, I'll be monitoring that. I do all the time anyway. So I'll be available that way.
That's great. Thank you. One quick thing here from Linda. You know, there's the whole quality versus quantity. Outplacement talks about that she is telling her about quantity, and you're talking about quality. And so can you maybe just address that a little bit? I obviously have my opinion, but can you address that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, you know, why wouldn't you have both? Well, the answer to why you wouldn't have both is because you only have a limited time. And so there is value in growing your network, but if you spend all your time on getting the quantity, then you're not getting the quality. I have a great example. In fact, my meeting before this, I'm active in the Chamber of Commerce, and there's thousands of people that I know through that. But then there's this group I meet every Wednesday, and every Wednesday it's a group of 20 people, 20 to 25 people. And I meet them every Wednesday for the last 5 years. Those are the people that helped me take the next step in my career. So it's people that really got to know really that quality. So I hope that addresses your question there, Linda.
Yeah, I think that's so good. And I know when a lot of people are talking about outplacement, if they're thinking about LinkedIn, quantity will get you maybe a connection to a company that you wouldn't have had, to somebody who works at a company, and then you can reach out to that person at that company. So that could be an example of a quantity, a reason why you want more people. But yeah, investment is definitely on the quantity side. I totally agree with you, Wade. Thank you again. Any last comments before we move on today?
Nope, I encourage everybody to kind of go through this process and just take this opportunity to really kind of change your trajectory on your career. So awesome. With that, I wish you enjoy the rest of the meeting and best of luck.
Thank you, Wade. Thank you again for being here. Yay, everyone do the virtual hand clap. All right, we are going to move over now to a hiring company. So Brittany Rideout is with us today, and she has been recruiting for 5 years, and she says it is her passion. She grew up in Iowa and moved to Phoenix 2 years ago, and she's been recruiting for Asurion ever since. She likes to walk, hike, go to the pool, and travel when she's not busy working. So please help me welcome Brittany Rideout to our event today.
Thank you. Thanks, Jessica. I appreciate that. Thank you, everyone. Like she said, my name's Brittany Rideout, and I am the recruiter at Asurion. And there we go. There's the, oh, sorry. So Asurion, we're hiring right now. We're hiring for technical support representatives. And I know some of you guys may be wondering, okay, what is Asurion? Maybe you've seen it before. We're your cell phone insurance company. So if you have Sprint, Verizon, or AT&T, we're your cell phone insurance. We have 2 locations here in Phoenix, as you can see on the screen here. One in North Phoenix and one by the airport in South Phoenix. What we're excited about is that we do have work at home positions available throughout the state of Arizona. So we're excited about that. If you live anywhere in the state of Arizona, you can get hired with us here at Asurion. All you need is at least 6 months of customer service experience for the position. And it's basically walking a customer through troubleshooting their phone. If they're not able to connect to the Wi-Fi, if they can't find their pictures in their phone, just any little thing that comes up with the cell phone. We all know that they act up. So this is a way for you to work with us, help a customer troubleshoot their cell phone, get them back up and running. We do provide the equipment to you. We will ship out the computer to you. If you do live in the state of Arizona, to your address, all you would need is to provide your own high-speed internet. If you do want to come and work on site eventually, we're all working from home right now to stay safe with what's going on. But if you do want to work on site, you would pick your computer up from the company, bring it home, and train from home until it is safe to go back in. So the good thing about our company, we do offer bilingual pay. So that's an added bonus, but you would start off at $16.75 for the pay per hour, and you can earn that $17.75 if you're approved for bilingual Spanish. The bullet points there are just what I went over before. What we're about: troubleshooting the cell phone, helping the customer get back up and running. The good thing about it is you can earn extra money. So you can earn up to $550 in incentive pay each month if you do hit your call center metrics, which is great. And your benefits, you don't have to wait too long for those either. After 31 days of employment, you do get the full benefits, which is health, dental, vision, 401k, all of the good stuff. Don't have to wait too long for that. We also offer tuition reimbursement. We do offer $5,250 per calendar year for the graduate program, $2,500 for the undergraduate program, and we also offer 15 days of paid time off. Oh, my screen will go here. There we go. Oh, getting ahead of me. So if you are interested, that's our website. It's careers.asurion.com. I can also post the link in here as well in our chat. Email me directly. That's my email, brittany.rideout@asurion.com. After you complete your application and assessment. The assessment, don't get overwhelmed thinking about the assessment. It takes about 20 minutes. It's your typical iPhone, Android, iOS questionnaire, as well as the personality questionnaire as well. So don't get alarmed by that. Just take that, take your time on it. Email me once you're done. We're also having a hiring event right now that I'm late to, which is fine. My team is covering for me right now. We have a virtual hiring event today from 10 until 2 Arizona time. And I'll put the, oh, looks like Sherry already put the link in there. So thank you so much, Sherry. If you click on that link, go ahead, pre-register. Make sure you take the assessment and apply before you come to the event today. I'll be there along with a few other recruiters and managers. We'll get you connected to a hiring manager today, and we're making same-day offers so you can walk away today, hopefully with the job offer if you're interested. So thank you so much. That's pretty much all I have, unless anyone, oh, it looks like there's a question here. We don't have part-time. It's only full-time. If you are a college student, I should let you know this too. We are being flexible. We can't be flexible for training. We do give you an extensive training for 10 weeks. You learn so much during 10 weeks. It is a set schedule. Right now, what I'm seeing is 10:30 to 7, more of a midday training. Training could be Sunday through Thursday. It could be Tuesday through Saturday. Just kind of depends. So we do need you to be pretty flexible for the position. If you are a college student, provide us your schedule after training and we'll work with you around your training schedule. So we try to offer that flexibility after training, but yeah, training is mandatory. And it
And
looks like
just, Brittany, it's English and Spanish, correct? You're
that's
looking for
correct. Yes.
good. Yeah,
And
so we have positions that are just for or Spanish speaking, but also if you only speak English, that's perfect too.
oh yeah, no problem. You can speak English, Spanish, whatever. We just offer that incentive. If you do speak Spanish, you can get a little bit more as an incentive there. We're open from 4 a.m. until midnight. So let's say you're an early bird, you want to come in early, you can certainly do that. Or if you want to work a later shift, we do shift bids every 6 months. So any other questions? Oh, it looks like we're not in Mexico, unfortunately. So we do have different positions throughout the U.S. If you do go to careers.assurion.com, you should be able to find something that works for you. But I will go ahead and put in our work at home position in the chat here. That's our most popular right now because I know everyone wants to stay at home and safe. So I'll go ahead and do that right now. I actually have it right here, and I'll put in my LinkedIn as well. If anybody wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or my email address. I'll put that in the chat here as well.
Thank you so much, Brittany. Thank you for being here today. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
Awesome.
And hopefully I'll see some people at the event. I'm getting ready to head over. So
go talk to some hiring managers today.
right.
Today. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we are going to move into just some resources I wanted to go over with all of you. Let me see here. There we go. All right. All right, so Sheila is getting ready to launch our evaluation. Since we're not in person right now, we like to ask a couple questions to get some feedback from you guys. And so if you could, you're gonna see 4 questions pop up. They'll come one at a time. And so once it just popped up, this webinar registration was easy. Just click your answer and the question will go away. So if you could fill those out as we go along, that would be great. It helps us as we're evaluating our events every week. And then if you have any additional feedback, you can either drop it right now in the chat, or you can send us an email at contact@careerconnectors.org. Feedback on anything you want to let us know on the speakers, the content, hiring companies that you'd like to see. We are trying to reach out and get more companies to come to attend our events and speak. And so if you have a company you're interested in and you haven't seen them at our event, please reach out to us, let us know, and we will do our best to get a connection there and invite them to speak. All right, here are our partners that we have that make this program and continue on in our community. So we're incredibly grateful for them. Many of them are hiring right now as well. So you can take a look at State Farm or U-Haul. There's various different programs available. Also, we have had keynote speaker Christy Staub out. She is also offering a program that for if you are in career transition in any capacity, it's called You and Your Future. It starts now. Oh, let's go back. There we go. And so if you are interested in this, Christy has a link that is available for Career Connectors people. Christy Staub, it's at the bottom, christystaub.as.me/career-connectors. It's also on our weekly email, and it will go on our weekly email on Monday. And she is giving 20% of any proceeds back to Career Connectors as a donation. So we really appreciate that. But she has cut the price more than in half for Career Connectors folks. So if you would like to dig into your career a little bit more and understand what you're looking for and what your future looks for, it's a great program. Christy helped with keynote speaking 10 years ago when I met her. And so she has been keynoting for us for a long time. All right, let me move on here, we go. All right, another resource we have for you guys, this is at no cost, bestcompaniesaz.com/resources is a website. Oh, Sheila, I don't know what happened. Is a website that has all of our, or many companies that are hiring. We've validated 65 companies that are hiring, and you can go directly to that website and take a look. And so we've talked to them. They're linked out directly to their website, and you can see there's a whole bunch of other COVID resources as well. All right. So here are some other things we have for you guys. Our DISC assessment is available, and the DISC assessment is a behavioral assessment that'll tell you a little bit about your ideal work style. It'll give you some insight into your communication style as well. And a lot of people will use some of the words to work on their LinkedIn profile, to update their resume, to incorporate into their interview. So great resource there. We are also doing a blog of today's event. So the content you heard from Wade, his process on the various different steps as you're evaluating your career, will be on that blog and available for you. We usually get it up in about 2 days. So, and then you'll see our different social media platforms on the bottom there as well. All right, so here we have our upcoming events. You will, on August 12th, we have Beyond the Elevator speech with Greg Gaines as our speaker. And then CarMax is one of the companies that we have booked right now. And then on the 19th, Carmen Payne is going to be doing Interviewing with Confidence. And so they're every Wednesday morning right now from 9 until 10:30, 11 o'clock is when you will be able to attend our events. We welcome you to continue coming to them. careerconnectors.org/event schedule is where you can find all of this, or just go to our homepage, careerconnectors.org. All right, so we have 3 areas of content for you guys right now. The career chat with me, I send out about 2 videos a week that has different topics on it, whether it's a review of our keynote speaker content, it's unemployment updates, job tips in general. And so those are 3 to 5 minute videos with just different things that are going on in our environment right now, and some advice from various keynote speakers. And then we have a community update that is available. Again, these are interviews with experts, and this one is a little bit longer, 20 to 30 minutes. And we have one coming up next week, I think it is, and which is talking a little bit more about salary negotiation. And so that's our next topic that's coming up, and you'll see that. We'll announce that, and also it'll be streamed live on Facebook, but then also on our community update page. And then the CC webinars are these events. So content all the way back from when we launched this in March. All of those events are this Thursday. Oh, okay, thanks, Sheila. This Thursday is the salary talk. And so that will be Facebook live streamed. You can see it live, or you can also see it uploaded there. The webinars, again, are on that last tab. All of those are back to March. And so you can see all of the events that we've done over the last 4 months. Thank you so much to our volunteers that are making this happen today. We have people that are helping within the technology side on Zoom. We have Debbie's working on our blog. We have coaches that help support people as they're in career transition as well. So thank you to all the volunteers that make this program happen. We so appreciate all of you. All right, so you guys hang in there. I know many of us are juggling so many things right now. Kids going off to school, trying to find your next career, trying to network, and being maybe stuck at home. It's just an odd time. So I encourage you to just take the next right step, do what you can do, follow the process that Wade gave us today, and to see how that can help you refine and define what you're looking for. We are so appreciative that you're hanging here with us and that you come to these events, and we are praying for all of you that you land into the career of your dreams. Thank you for being here today.